It's Gary Brown with TUG, and I want to welcome you to the Web Presented webinar today. We appreciate your coming here, and we'll get started right away. I'll turn it over to James Gertis to start the presentation. James, all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Gertis. I'm one of the founders of Web Presented. We've been around for 15 years and supported TUG for almost 10 years now. We are a full box CRM platform that has very tight integration with Infor ERP backend systems. I'm joined today by Steve Hessen, our sales director, and Amanda Cachello, our marketing coordinator. Today, I'll be talking about the WP quoting module, which is both a standalone application and a CRM component that plugs into our CRM, WPCRM. The purpose and benefit of WP's quoting utility is to enable users to create quotes, create orders from out in the field using a mobile device or a browser, and it provides enhanced capabilities to users who are in the sales organization. In terms of an overview of today's agenda, I'm going to firstly introduce our organization very briefly. If you're TUG members, hopefully you've heard of us by now and have stopped by our booth on one of the many TUGs that we've sponsored. We're very active in the TUG and Infor community. We're actually founded by ex-Infor employees, so we know both the customer side and the Infor side extremely well. And then I'll be focusing on the quoting aspects of Web Presented software suite. I'm going to talk about why you would use a quoting tool that's built into our application platform, go into some of the mobile capabilities, as well as some of the benefits that users would achieve from using our tool. So in other words, why would somebody use WP's quoting capabilities rather than enter quotes and orders directly into the ERP system? And you can see here we've listed out some of the benefits, but I'll go into the detail of some of those benefits by using case studies later on in the demonstration. Firstly, I'm going to show you a demonstration system of ours just to give you some basic capabilities and functionalities and show you how our system navigates. Then I'm going to jump over to one of our customers' case studies, Shaw Packaging. They are an Infor SX.e distribution customer, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a walkthrough of a project that we implemented for them. They're a very large distributor of custom corrugated boxes and packaging, and their entire quoting process from end to end is managed using Web Presented's quoting platform. Finally, I'm going to leave it to you guys at the end to provide questions, and myself, Steve, and Amanda are going to do our best to answer those questions. So let's get started, shall we? Straight into a quick introduction of who we are, Web Presented. Like I said, the company's been around for 15 years, founded by ex-Infor employees. Our sole focus is on wholesale distribution. We have over 200 customers running the Web Presented platform. A large majority of those run on Infor ERP backends. We know both the wholesale distribution extremely well and the technology side of the Infor ERP system very well. Our fundamental foundational premise of the reason why we exist and the reason why our product is so popular among its users is we focus on giving value to salespeople by using data that already exists inside of your ERP system. And I'll show you several examples of how we provide that value throughout the quoting process by using our tool. The software itself is both a web-based, a browser-based application, as well as a mobile app. So while I'm going to show you mostly the browser-based application today, most, if not all, of what I can do today is also available using a tablet or a smartphone device. So the ability to, for example, look up customers, order pricing and inventory, create orders and quotes, etc., can be done using a mobile device as well. Finally, fundamental principles of our software and our business. Number one, provide users with value. This is not a data entry tool that is management top-down focused. The end user of our application, the sales rep out in the field, is truly an advocate of our product and sees the value, answers the question, what's in it for me when using our software. Also, the system is very accessible. You can use this anywhere in the world using a mobile device or a browser. And finally, usability is key. Wherever we can limit keystrokes, provide predictive user interactions, make the screen clean, simple, and easy to use, we find that it obviously works best for not only sales users, but for all users of our system. So let's get started then and talk a little bit about quoting and why somebody would use WPCRM as a quoting tool rather than directly access the Infor ERP system. First of all, WP Web Presented provides mobile capabilities. So while your current ERP probably doesn't allow a sales rep out in the field to, for example, look up pricing and inventory from their phone, or create a quote, or create an order from their phone, Web Presented solution does allow that. We also connect with Outlook and Exchange. So all of your users, all of your reps' contacts that they may have in their phone or may have inside of Outlook can be used in order to send quotes to or create orders for. And we actually synchronize those contacts back into the ERP system where necessary. Since we're a full-blown CRM platform, we have a foundational framework that allows for unlimited workflows, approval processes, and reporting capabilities, far above and beyond what you may have in A+ or SX.e or Fax right now. Web Presented's workflow is used, for example, to route quotes throughout the purchasing and requisition process. Perhaps you have an approval process that a manager needs to sign off on a quote before it goes out. All of those types of workflows can be built into our system, and also to leverage a very highly sophisticated security model that goes into our quoting workflow as well. The next section is our predictive analytics, and I'll show you examples of where, for example, customers who bought product A typically also buy products X, Y, and Z. We have that kind of predictive analytics built into our quoting process that allows for automation of building complementary and replacement type products into the process. And then we also have the ability to track win-loss ratios with quotes, assign quotes to opportunities, make quotes truly a CRM activity that gets tracked with your other activities within your organization from the sales perspective. And then finally, our formatting options and capabilities, the ability to send via email or text message, a link to a quote is far above and beyond. It's truly cutting edge, above and beyond what most industrial or wholesale distribution ERPs will offer. So let's jump straight in then to a live product demonstration. And what you're going to see now is a demonstration of one of our test systems. This happens to be hooked up to Infor SX.e backend. However, we have full integration with Infor's A+, as well as Infor's Fax. So both real-time API capabilities are accessible, for example, real-time pricing, real-time availability, the ability to create orders real-time, to push a quote back into the ERP system. All of these factors and capabilities are available regardless of your Infor distribution ERP system. So let's start off then. I'm going to be working as Vic here, and I come to my dashboard, and of course, as any good CRM or sales tool, I can understand what my targets are, but I'm going to jump immediately to one of our customers and understand for this specific customer, this customer may request a quote for a specific product. So once clicking on the customer, I can now choose Add New Quote. And once I create a quote for this particular customer, you'll notice that several defaults populate directly from the ERP system. Firstly, which warehouse does this customer belong to? What's this customer's default terms? Are there a preferred shipping method for this quote? What language does this customer speak in? Is there a specific template or a sales rep that's associated with this particular customer? All those defaults come through from the ERP system and allow us to generate a quote on the fly. Now, of course, I'm looking at this from a browser's perspective. I could just as easily be looking at this from my tablet, from my smartphone. The system works great on any device. So if I'm talking to this customer, I may choose to jump over to the pricing and inventory tab. At this point, I can start typing in a part number. And of course, this might be a part number, a lookup name, a product description, anything that's going to tie it back to a product in your ERP system. We also adhere to, for example, customer part numbers or manufacturer part numbers. Anything that's searchable is going to show up as a search result. And of course, we have analytics that built in that recognize which products does this customer frequently purchase and push them to the top. If you use ABC ranking for your products, those higher level products are going to show up at the top of their list. So we enable the user to enter as few keystrokes as possible, make the system as available as possible to those users. Now, once I click search, once I've pulled up a product, I've given it an item number and a customer, that's all we really need. Now I get some key information, again, going out to the ERP system in real time. Not only do I get this product's price information, I also get some margin or cost information for this particular customer. If, for example, I want to know availability by customer, I can see based on every warehouse how many of these products are available. I can also see based on analytics built into the system, not only what was the last price that this customer purchased the product for, but a history of pricing for this product for this customer. I can see the variance of pricing for this customer for this product. I can even tap into lost business, so I can understand thresholds at which this product was lost, both at a customer level and a macro level across all of your customers, so I can get an understanding for the price elasticity of this product using historical data out of the ERP system. Just a few of the factors and features that make this far more advanced than your typical transactional quoting or order entry system. Not only do I get data in real time from your ERP system, however, and again, this uses customer pricing, so any matrix or price discount records or contracts that you might have for that specific customer, those are all going to come in real time into the mobile app or into the web-based, browser-based application. It's as if you are entering this information into your ERP system. I also tie in to the e-commerce, whatever e-commerce platform you may have, if that's relevant to you. So for example, in this case, we're going out to the e-commerce website for this customer, and we're bringing in not only product images, but also supporting attachments, so files that may pertain to this particular product. Any installation instructions, packing sheets, toxic materials information, any warranty information, all that kind of information that you might want to quote, send along with the quote, it's all automated. It's all going to show up when I add this product to my quote. So I've got a price for this product. It comes out of the ERP system. Let's go ahead and add that particular product to our quote that we have right now. And you can see here, as we go along, as I'm building my quote, I have one item added to our quote, and we have a running total for our quote. Let's just go ahead and add another couple products to our quote here as we're in. I happen to know this particular customer sells printers. So let's go ahead and add this particular printer model to our quote. Again, in real time, I can see how many we have available. I can see the list price, not only the list price, but I can also see what's this customer's specific price for this product. Once I add the product to our quote, obviously it goes out to the ERP system based on quantity, price discounts, based on the customer number. We get a price for this particular product. Again, I can see the quantity available. I can see, for example, what the cost and the margin is for this particular product. Now, let's just say the sales rep now is working with this product. I can see we've got a 21% margin on this particular product. And we want the sales rep to be able to modify this. So using any of these pricing models available, I can now adjust the price. Let's go for a 20% margin instead. And of course, the extended price gets updated in real time. Let's take a little bit look further down, and I can see, for example, I can override the description. Sometimes your ERP descriptions aren't particularly customer friendly. We enable the ability to build a library or a catalog of product descriptions, even pull in extended product descriptions, either from an existing catalog, from a website, or allow your users to build their own product descriptions as well. Once I update that pricing and close the item, of course it updates our quote accordingly. Now, if at any point in time I wanted, for example, to pull in that product image and actually include it on our quote, you'll notice we have the ability to include images on our quote. So if I check the box that says include the product image on our quote, now we have a nicely formatted quote that's not only got information from your ERP system, availability, lead times, all that information that's going to be printed on the quote, but we also have the ability to include product images, to add additional attachments. So when I open up my quote here, you'll see not only do we have the name of the product, but we've also included a nice looking image on our quote. Now, of course, there's further flexibility I can do. I can add, for example, shipping and instruction, shipping methods, notes. I can choose, again, based on customer defaults, what are the required shipping methods. We could add add-ons, for example, shipping, tax, delivery. We even have an API that connects to third-party systems, also back into your own API, back into your own ERP system to calculate tax, to calculate shipping, etc. That's going to be added onto the quote. Finally, again, we default a lot of these items based on the template selected for this customer, but of course, I can choose, for example, a different cover sheet. I can choose different terms and conditions documents that I want to add to the quote based on products that are automatically going to be added. And again, once I add a cover sheet to my quote, now if I was to re-download the quote, you'll see that it's all presented based on your customer's terms, based on your branding guidelines. The system automatically generates a beautiful looking quote that you're going to be proud to send to your customers. Looks way better than obviously quotes coming out of a lot of ERP packages, and it's very, very nice and easy to use. Now, once the quote's sent to my customer, obviously we're going to be able to pull in contact information from Exchange, from Outlook, from my smartphone. I can pull in the contacts that I choose to add. I can also add further attachments. I can, for example, send an email cover letter as well, pull in from a list of templates of email cover letters, and I'll go ahead and send this quote to my customer. Once the quote is sent, not only do we create a copy of that quote back into your ERP system, but we also make the quote available to be converted to an order. So at any point in time, we can not only send a quote, it pushes that quote back into your ERP system, but I can also release that quote or convert that quote to an order so it goes into your ERP system directly as an order. It saves the inside sales having to touch the quote. It saves the sales rep having to email it back in and duplicate data entry. The ability to obviously saves from the risk of making errors, and that whatever the customer sees in their quote is automatically going to be copied into the ERP system. So one final thing I'm going to show you is the ability. Right now I've obviously quoted stock products, either inventoried products that also happen to obviously exist in your ERP system. We also have the ability to add what we call non-stock items. These are custom items that you may not necessarily have on hand, you may not have in your ERP system, but the customer wants them nonetheless. So let's just go ahead and add an example here of a compressor. We're going to sell this for $150. I happen to know the cost is 90 bucks, and I'm just going to put a test description in here. Now, of course, once I add this into our quote, the product's going to look just like every other item that came from your ERP system. The customer's not necessarily going to know that it doesn't have a SKU or a part number in your system, but then once it gets converted to an order, I can then requisition this product. I can go out and add it as a non-stock item. It's going to show up. It's going to show up on the invoice as a non-stock item, etc. So, to summarize, the first section, the first case study, the first example I just gave you was taking a customer information. That customer information comes automatically from your ERP system. No matter what the Infor distribution ERP is, we have hooks in, we have the real-time API capabilities. I have the ability to create a quote on the fly, to look up pricing and inventory, either from my browser or from my smartphone. The system is extremely fast, it's very responsive, and it allows more rich content to be added to your quote in the terms of not only the ability to have attachments, images, but also to add predictive analytics and to be able to suggest other products that that go along or are complementary to the existing products that we added. So that's step one of the process. What I'm going to show you now is slightly more advanced example, and this is a real-life example of one of our customers' systems. And this is a customer, again, like I mentioned before, called Shore Packaging. who around about 2 years ago went into partnership with Web Presented and came up with their own quote management process that our software accomplished. So what were their challenges? First of all, they didn't have a defined quoting process. Quotes were going out looking different. Their sales reps were using spreadsheets. There was no umbrella visibility into what the volume of quotes were going out. There was no visibility to understand how many of those quotes were converted to orders. In fact, sales reps were even going rogue and just basically quoting whatever they wanted. So not only does it bring structure to the process, but it also makes life extremely easy for the reps building those quotes. So they can always use the latest branding. Your quotes are consistent in their look and feel. There's a single view for a management point of view of all the quotes going out into the system. And then finally, in this case, there was no visibility into how long the quoting process was taking. So all of these factors were overcome using Web Presented's quoting process. And again, here are the goals from the system, much like in the previous slide, as I mentioned. So, quick overview of the quote process for sure. First of all, a sales rep or a customer service representative is going to find out from a customer a need or an opportunity. That information is entered into quote, and then the quote is stored on Web Presented until it gets pushed back into the ERP system. At that point, the customer service rep might decide that they need help sourcing the items on this quote. So for example, if there's a non-stock item, maybe purchasing needs to get involved in order to acquire the products on that particular quote. And then if purchasing is involved, then of course that product needs to be sourced. We need to contact vendors. We need to pull that information back into the quote so that we can come up with a price for our customer. And then finally, the sales rep's going to aggregate, going to get all that information back, send the quote to their customer, and now the customer has a nice looking quote that has a full internal traceability and audit trail of all the steps that went in to come up with that product. So here's some examples of dashboards we created with Shaw. So not only do we have the ability to come up with a listing of quotes, so for example, if I'm in the customer service team, I can see all the quotes that are in the queue that are required that need some purchasing assistance. I can see, for example, what are the quotes expiring. Again, using Web Presented's workflows, we have the ability to understand and create events and trigger-based events. So for example, send an email reminder to our customer when the quote is about to expire, or even create a follow-up task for our sales rep to follow up on a quote that happens to be expiring. As you've seen before, once a new quote gets created, the customer defaults are populated. Add products based on keywords. Of course, it searches inventory and it's extremely fast to go out and search based on keyword, based on vendor information, even based on attribute type information we can include in our search capability. We do have an advanced product search which gives you much more of a e-commerce type feel in order to be able to refine search results by attributes. If, for example, the product doesn't exist in the customer's current warehouse, we give the ability to search for products in all warehouses. So again, that's a setting in the system that allows you to determine if you want to source from external warehouses. Once the item is added, of course, not only do we have basic pricing information, but we also have the ability to track additional fields. So a lot of these might be populated, for example, lead time, expected delivery date. Is there any other requirements from the customer that we want to capture at that particular point in time? All of these are flexible fields that you can store at the line item level to capture information and optionally display it in your system. Once the quote obviously gets, once the product gets added to your quote, we can obviously see if there's additional price breaks and see where the product fits in terms of a pricing perspective. Again, I add items to the quote, and I also have the ability to add a non-stock item. So in this case, there's additional fields that are presented to the user to help them, to the sales rep, to help them capture information for non-stock items that either are going to go into the ERP system, for example, product categories, vendor information, or that are going to help purchasing to go ahead and requisition this product. We can attach files either manually or pull it through from your e-commerce system. And then, of course, I have the ability to send a quote to another person. So the quote becomes almost like a task. At this point, if a sales rep is having problems completing the quote, they have the ability to pull in assistance from customer service. It's truly a collaboration tool that allows both parties, all different parties, not only sales, customer service, purchasing, but also sales management, to get overview and visibility into the quoting process. And then, of course, a service rep can pick up a quote and can open that quote and work on the quote and initiate their review of the quoting process. Once a quote has been initiated by customer service, it'll show up on their assigned quotes, and they've essentially locked that quote until they release it back to sales or push it to purchasing. Again, I'm speeding through these slides just to give you a flavor, just to give you an overview of how this multi-different individuals and stakeholders within the organization get access to the quoting process. This is a screen that shows you that purchasing is now involved at the line item level in order to source or requisition a product. And so here's my purchasing screen. I now am requested to enter vendor bids. I can notify my team. I can put additional requirements based on a category or an item level that are going to help me as a purchasing agent to build this particular quote and fill out the rest of the quote. We have what we call a grid view. So, for example, if I have a single product that I'm getting bids from multiple vendors, this allows me to not only send a quote to my customer, but also understand, based on different vendors' bids for a given to fulfill a specific product for my customer, I can now analyze different bids. I can analyze merchandising vendors in order to see which is the best fit for a given product, so that we can then choose that vendor and send and get accurate pricing information to our customer. Of course, I can update cost information in our quote. Once the quote's completed, obviously we're going to send it to our customer, just like I showed you previously, and now that closes the loop. We've effectively completed our quote. So let's come back to shore and understand what their goals were from this project and see how those goals were accomplished. So first of all, in order to standardize the quoting process, all quotes look the same. All sales reps are trained once on how to use the system, and the system is extremely easy and intuitive to use. Secondly, the ability to access quoting information from an internal perspective. Managers can see what quotes are going out. Managers can receive alerts or triggers or emails based on a daily summary or a digest of what quotes have gone out. We can understand at a product level or a product category level or product line level, what are the trends in quoting? Do we have a lot of, for example, heating and cooling, heating supplies being quoted in the month of March? Does that then have ramifications to inventory levels? All of that analytics information is now accessible using WP's open data format. Again, the ability for sales folks from their browser, from their mobile device, to be able to access current, real-time, up-to-the-second pricing, costing, and inventory information for products. Also, customer service is now involved. There's no need for duplicate entry. There's no need to track these back and forth activities using email. It's all integrated into the same system. And of course, the total time to quote is vastly improved because there's all kinds of efficiencies built into this process. And then finally, the ability to track a win-loss ratio. Since we're now winning quotes, a quote must be completed in some way or another, or it expires. We can understand both based on customers, based on sales reps, regions, geographies, products and product groupings, what is the win-loss ratio, so management from a strategic level can understand not only on the sales side, but also now on the quoting side, where's our benefits, how are we performing well, how are we underperforming. And then currently in process, again for sure, we're building out a data cube that's going to allow them to be able to build their own ad hoc reports on these types of metrics. Okay, so that wraps up the slideshow portion and the final piece that I wanted to demonstrate today. What I'm going to now do is turn it over to you folks on the phone to raise your hand or ask questions using the panel within the GoToMeeting, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. And Amanda here is going to be chairing this question process. So Amanda, do we have any emails or questions coming in from the GoToMeeting?
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We have had a few questions come in during the presentation, so we'll go ahead and I'll ask you those now, and then if anyone again has anything, feel free to ask as we go through these questions. So first for you, James, is this tool part of your regular CRM offering, or can we just purchase it solely as the quoting tool from WP?
Oh, great question. So yes, you may have seen branded WPCRM, web presented. For those of you who don't know, our flagship product is a CRM tool that's integrated with Infor ERP. However, the quoting module is a standalone application on its own. We have several customers that just use the quoting components of our CRM, and we also price the quoting component separately for certain customers that just use it as a quoting tool. So while it can be integrated as part of the CRM, and there's a lot of advantages to that, if you already have a separate CRM and are just looking for a quoting utility, then Web Presenter's quoting tool can be used as a standalone application. And we do have hooks into third-party CRMs that allow the quotes and the customer information, contact information to be fed from those third-party CRMs as well.
Great, thank you. Another question that came in is, how or where are the product images supported?
Okay, so the product images use our API that connect out to third-party websites. Now, the majority of time, this is our customer's own e-commerce website. So we support both Infor Storefront. We have a relationship with a company called Unilog that has Sim2, which is a popular product, a popular e-commerce product for wholesale distributors. We've also got an API that allows you to effectively build your own catalog utility. So if you have a third-party e-commerce website where you would like to be able to look up product images and feed those product images back based on a SKU or a part number, we have the ability to integrate that as well. We also have what we call vendor punch-out that allows us to actually scrape vendor websites and pull in product, not only product documentation, product availability to allow those images to be brought into the system. Okay, Amanda, any other questions?
Yes, we've had a couple more come in. I'm just reading through them now. Someone asked, how does it work with equipment that we have in stock and or need to order from the vendor to ship to customer?
Okay, so I'm assuming that question means, so obviously for products or equipment that's in stock, then obviously it will give you real-time availability and pricing if it's in inventory. If it's part of your inventory but not actually in stock right now, then that's going to allow you to quote a product that is not on hand, but it'll simply, when the order gets created, it'll backlog that particular order. The order will likely go on hold, and at that point it uses the ERP's rules to determine how a order is created if the product is not in inventory. It presumably some sort of inter-warehouse transfer, or the order goes on backlog, order goes on hold. Again, using ERP logic, we don't reinvent the wheel on that one. We just feed the order back in using the ERP system's API.
All right, then we had a couple other questions. Send quote to customer with acceptance option to add a PO number for representative, and then they continue to say acceptance by customer to return to that.
Great question. We have a beta version of this that we run right now. So using Web Presenter's workflow and our external forms tool, we have the ability to embed a link in the email that goes out to our customer that effectively says approve or accept this quote. At that point, it actually brings up a web page, a public-facing web page that allows the customer to enter in their own customer PO number, click a button, and effectively comes back into our quoting tool, and then pushes that quote as an order. So there's, again, no additional touch points needed in order for that particular quote to get created to an order. The customer can do it themselves using a encrypted link that goes into their email.
Okay, another question for you. Integration of a view to customers' past sales or a link to alternative products?
Absolutely, yes. We absolutely have the integration to view a customer's past sales. I can quickly show you this. So while I'm looking at a specific customer, I can click on what we call, or while I'm looking at a specific quote, I can look at the analytics for that customer, and I can see, for example, for this customer, what are the product groups that they've purchased this year, this month to date, etc. For example, what's their invoice register, what's the order history. So again, looking at a specific product, for example, let's just go ahead and click on this particular customer's order history. Now, not only can I see the full order history, but I can even filter this, and there's a link that automatically filters this. So if I'm looking at, for example, this specific product, I can see now for this customer, what are all the times, what are the dates that this customer has previously purchased this product, what was the invoice. I can even click on the invoice and get the actual invoice details for that history. But I can also importantly see what was the price, what was the margin they bought that particular product for. So it helps me guide what my pricing will be for this particular case. Again, in a single click from a quote, when looking at a product, I can jump and see the invoice history or the order history for that particular product for that customer.
See. And do outside reps need to have access to ERP for quoting if we implement this?
So So I'm assuming that question means about licensing. Do the outside sales rep need a license to the Infor ERP? So that is an area that depends on the ERP system. What I'll tell you is that a lot of our customers' sales reps, especially in the outside sales reps, never need to go into the ERP system, especially if they're using the full-blown CRM platform. There's not a need to go into the ERP system because quoting, order entry is all done using our web-based and mobile-based tools. So, and all the capabilities that they can have in order entry is available using our quoting utility.
All right, that looks like all the questions for now. So I don't know if we want to give it a couple seconds here. If anyone has any more questions, please send them in.
Hey, okay. James, I have a question. This is Gary at TUG. So you guys have been a sponsor for a long time. Do you know about how many TUG members you have as customers right now?
I think we have roughly 60 TUG members as web-presented customers, I believe.
That's right.
That are running WPCRM. Yeah, we've done very, very well at TUG. We're very active in the community. So I think it's about 50 or 60 TUG members who run web-presented CRM, WPCRM.
Okay, and I'm assuming that's across the board, SX.e, A+, and Fax.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And how's it look for Cloud Suite? Are you guys working on integration?
Great question. Yeah, great question. We have 2 customers running Cloud Suite. We're actually working through some questions with Infor about batch getting data in and out. We have been working with the ION API. So, I mean, with Infor's technical teams, you get that real-time API information out of Cloud Suite. So pricing the inventory is already basically solved. We're not, full disclosure, we're not live yet with any Cloud Suite distribution customers, but we've already got 2 customers who are basically our beta customers that are going to be working with us that are already committed to going live with Cloud Suite, who aren't live yet on Cloud Suite, but we're working with them on making the system forward compatible.
Very cool. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So again, as you can see from the screen, if you do have further questions, here's our email address, sales@webpresented.com. By all means, if you're interested in, if you're not an existing customer of ours and are interested in finding out more about our product, and I always say this, and Gary, you should wholeheartedly approve of this, I always say, listen to what I have to say, but then ignore it and go find some other of our customers and get a peer or a user-to-user review, because that is by far and away the best way to understand and to mitigate risk when choosing a new software platform. And like I said, our customers are our #1 source of new business, and by all means, we'll be happy to share references from other TUG members or use the TUG message boards to solicit feedback and references from Web Presented and our position, our standing within the Infor ERP community.
And that's what TUG is all about. Well, thank you, James, Steve, and Amanda. I appreciate your webinar today, and thank you, all of your attendees. Let's all have a great day. Take care now.
Thanks, guys. Bye.